Commander John Hayes stood by the window of the Harmony 7 station. He watched the stars and the strange alien ships that moved between them. For 5 years, he had come to this place. For 5 years, he had tried to help Earth join the Galactic Confederation as equals. Today would be the last time. The meeting room buzzed with the sounds of 27 different alien species. Some floated in the air. Others crawled on many legs. Some looked almost human, except for their blue or green skin. The aliens talked and argued in their own languages, but everyone wore a small translator device. Ambassador Lisa Daniels sat straight in her chair at the far end of the long table. She was the only human allowed to speak. John and 3 other humans stood behind her, watching and taking notes. They were not allowed to sit at the table. "The human request for voting rights is denied," said the auxiliary representative, Zix Toth. The tall insect-like alien's voice clicked through the translator. "Humans have been in space for less than 300 years. That is not enough time to prove yourselves. But we have met all the requirements in your charter," Lisa said calmly. "Our technology." "Your technology is borrowed," interrupted another alien, a floating ball of purple gas named Voth. "Humans learn quickly, but they create nothing new." John bit his tongue. Earth had created many new things, but the Confederation refused to acknowledge them. "We request reconsideration," Lisa said. Her voice was still calm, but John saw her hands tighten under the table. Zix Toth made a sound like laughing. "Perhaps in another 100 years. Humans are so impatient, so emotional." The insect alien turned to the others. "Did you know that humans still fight among themselves? They have wars on their own planet. How can such creatures be trusted with Confederation technology?" The aliens murmured and nodded. Many looked at the humans with what seemed like pity or disgust. "The Confederation has spoken," said the oldest member, a glowing energy being called the Archon. "This meeting is ended." Lisa stood up slowly. The room went quiet. This was not the normal procedure. Meetings ended with bowing and formal words. "Earth has heard the Confederation," she said. Her voice was different now, colder. "For 5 years, we have tried to join as partners. For 5 years, we have been treated as children." "That is because you are children," Zix Toth said, "galactically speaking." Lisa ignored him. She touched a small device on her wrist. A signal to Earth. John knew what it meant. Protocol Exodus was now active. Earth formally withdraws from all negotiations with the Galactic Confederation. Lisa announced, "We sever all diplomatic ties, effective immediately." The room erupted in confused sounds. This had never happened before. "You cannot withdraw," Zix Toth clicked angrily. "You need us." "We had hoped to work together," Lisa said. "That hope is now gone. Earth will find its own path among the stars." John followed Lisa as she walked out of the room. The other humans came behind them. None of them looked back at the shouting aliens. "They think we're having an emotional outburst," John said quietly as they walked to their ship. Lisa smiled for the first time that day. Let them think that. On their ship, the Earth delegation sat in silence as they left the station. Through the viewports, they could see the massive Confederation ships, ships with weapons that could destroy Earth in minutes. "Will they attack us?" asked one of the junior diplomats. "No," John said. "They don't think we're worth the trouble." Lisa looked at the stars ahead. "They'll ignore us, and that's exactly what we need right now. Time and quiet." The ship jumped to faster than light speed, heading home to a planet that was already preparing. Earth had expected this outcome. Plans made in secret were now being put into action. The humans had left the table, but the game was far from over. 6 months passed, then 7, then 8. The Galactic Confederation noticed something strange. Human ships no longer came to alien ports. The usual trade goods from Earth, art, music, and some unique minerals, stopped flowing. Communication channels went quiet. At first, no one cared much. Humans were just having one of their emotional reactions, the aliens thought. They would come back when they realized how much they needed the Confederation. But they did not come back. After 1 year of silence, the Confederation sent ships to Earth's solar system. The delegates found something unexpected. The orbital stations around Earth, Mars, and Jupiter were empty. Automated messages warned all ships to stay away. When the delegates tried to call Earth directly, they received no answer. Nelvac, a tall bird-like alien who worked in Confederation intelligence, stood in the empty human station orbiting Mars. His feathers ruffled with concern as he looked at the abandoned living quarters. Food still sat on tables. Clothes hung in closets. It looked like the humans had left in a hurry. "Where did they go?" asked his assistant, a small green alien named Prill. "Back to their planet, perhaps," Nelvac said. But scans showed very little activity on Earth itself. Some small settlements remained, but the big cities seemed quiet. Most of the 7 billion humans had simply vanished. Nelvac brought his concerns to the Confederation Council, but they dismissed him. "Humans are hiding on their own planet," said Zixtoth, the Xilari representative. "They want us to worry and beg them to return. It is a childish game." But Nelvac was not convinced. Something bigger was happening. Deep under the icy surface of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Zara Mitchell looked at her work with pride. The huge underground facility stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of humans worked at different stations, building things that would have amazed the Confederation. "Test number 47 is ready," said her assistant. Zara nodded. She watched as engineers activated the small silver device. The device hummed and created a bubble of bent light around itself. Then it disappeared. "Travel time to Alpha Centauri?" Zara asked. 3 minutes, 17 seconds, her assistant replied, reading from a screen. "That's 5 times faster than Confederation ships." Zara smiled. The new drive was just one of many projects happening across the solar system. While the aliens thought humans were having a temper tantrum, Earth was preparing for something much bigger. Under the surface of Mars, vast factories produced ships with technology the Confederation had never seen. Inside the rings of Saturn, miners gathered rare materials in secret. On Pluto, new defense systems watched for any approaching alien vessels. And beyond the edge of the solar system, the first human colonies on new worlds were already growing. Captain Alan Miller flew his small scout ship carefully through the debris field. He was 10 light years from Earth, mapping a new star system that the Confederation had never bothered to explore. His ship used the new stealth technology that made it invisible to alien sensors. "Base, this is Scout 7, he said into his communicator. "Planet 3 is habitable. Good atmosphere, liquid water, and no intelligent life forms. Marking it for Colony Group 5. "Received, Scout 7, came the reply from the hidden base. "That makes 17 habitable worlds so far." Alan looked out at the blue-green planet below. Soon, thousands of humans would live there, all without the Confederation knowing. Back in the Confederation Council chamber, most aliens had forgotten about the humans. They had other concerns: trade disputes, border conflicts, the usual politics. Only Nelvac still worried. "We should send more ships to investigate," he said at a meeting. "The humans are not worth our time," Zixtoth replied. "Let them hide." Nelvac's feathers flattened with frustration. What if they're not hiding? What if they're building? The other aliens laughed at this idea. Humans building something dangerous. Impossible. 3 years after leaving the negotiating table, humanity was far from finished. They were just getting started. 3 years of silence had passed since humans left the negotiating table. Strange rumors began to spread across the galaxy. Traders reported seeing unknown ships that vanished when approached. Mining colonies found their equipment mysteriously improved overnight. Some worlds at the edge of Confederation space reported brief signals from unknown sources. Captain Frank Rollins stood on the bridge of the EFS's Determination, Earth's first next-generation stealth warship. The ship hung silently in space near a busy alien trade route. To any Confederation sensors, they were completely invisible. "Status report," Frank said to his crew. "All systems normal, Captain," replied his first officer. "Stealth field is holding steady. We've recorded data on 57 Confederation ships passing through this sector." Frank nodded. The determination had been mapping Confederation space for months, gathering intelligence and identifying potential outposts for human expansion. They were not the only ship doing this work. Earth now had a fleet of stealth vessels moving throughout the galaxy. "Time to move on," Frank said. "Set course for the Tauran homeworld." The Taurans were one of the few alien species that had treated humans with respect during the Confederation negotiations. Now Earth wanted to establish secret contact with them. On the mining colony of Drovis 9, alien workers were confused. Someone had modified their drilling machines overnight. The equipment now worked 3 times better than before. The mine supervisor, a 4-armed alien named Grox, examined the changes with surprise. "Who did this?" he asked his workers. No one knew. What Grox didn't know was that a small team of humans had visited the mine the night before. They had improved the machines as part of Earth's new strategy: help those who might become allies. In a secret meeting room on a small moon, Ambassador Lisa Daniels sat across from Meldar, the representative of the aquatic Meldari species. The Meldari floated in a water tank with a translator device attached. "So humans did not run away," Meldar said, bubbles rising from his speaking gills. "You were preparing." "Yes," Lisa said. "Earth wants to form new partnerships outside the Confederation. Partners who will treat us as equals." "The Confederation has not been fair to my people either," Meldar admitted. "We are considered a minor species, despite our ancient culture." "That's why we're talking to you first," Lisa said. "We believe all species deserve respect." By the end of the meeting, the Meldari agreed to a secret trade deal with Earth. They were not the only ones. The Taurans, the Volti, and 3 other species also formed secret alliances with humans. Meanwhile, the Confederation remained blind to these developments. Most members still believed humans were sulking on their home planet. At a Confederation trade center, a merchant named Pack sold luxury goods from dozens of worlds. Lately, he had noticed something odd. Certain rare materials were becoming harder to find. Prices for specialized technology parts had doubled, then tripled. Something was disrupting the supply chains, but no one knew what. What Pack didn't know was that human agents were quietly buying up strategic resources across the galaxy. They used false identities and shell companies to hide their activities. On the edge of Confederation space, a patrol ship investigated strange sensor readings. The ship and its crew of 20 never returned. When a search team arrived, they found no trace of the missing vessel. In the Confederation Council chamber, Nelvac presented his latest report. 17 patrol ships have disappeared in the past year, the avian intelligence officer said, all near the outer territories. "Pirates," suggested one council member. "Space anomalies," said another. Zix Toth, the Xilari representative, waved a clawed limb dismissively. "There are always lost ships. It means nothing." Nelvac's feathers ruffled with frustration. "There are also reports of unknown technology appearing on multiple worlds, and unexplained resource shortages." "Do you have proof of who is responsible?" asked the Archon. "No," Nelvac admitted, "but these events began 3 years ago." When the humans left, Zix Toth interrupted with a clicking laugh. "Are you suggesting those primitives are causing galaxy-wide problems?" "Impossible." Most council members agreed with the Xilari. The meeting moved on to other topics. As the council argued, Captain Frank Rollins and the Determination slipped silently past the Confederation's main defense fleet. The humans were everywhere now, unseen but growing stronger each day. 5 years had passed since humans walked away from the Galactic Confederation. In that time, Earth had been busy in ways the aliens never imagined. Olivia Carter sat in her office deep beneath the surface of Europa. As the leader of Earth's Shadow Diplomatic Corps, She managed a vast network of human agents throughout Confederation space. Her wall screen showed information from hundreds of worlds. The auxiliary banking system has been successfully accessed, reported her assistant. We now control 15% of their financial networks. Olivia nodded. Good. Make small changes only. Nothing they would notice right away. Earth's strategy was not about direct confrontation. It was about quietly gaining control of key systems across the galaxy. Banking, communication, transportation. Humans had infiltrated them all. What about our allies? Olivia asked. 7 species have now joined our alliance, her assistant said. All were considered minor by the Confederation. Together with us, they control 23% of galactic resources. Olivia smiled. The aliens who had looked down on humans were now surrounded by a hidden network they couldn't see. On a distant world called Krell 5, a Confederation mining operation was failing. Equipment broke down daily. Workers fell sick. Shipments went missing. The site manager, a auxiliary named Zivtok, was furious. Find out what is happening, he shouted at his team. What Zivtok didn't know was that humans had recruited many of his workers as spies. They reported on auxiliary operations and sometimes caused small problems. Not enough to raise alarms, but enough to slow things down. Similar situations were happening across auxiliary space. Their economy was struggling, but they didn't understand why. In the hidden human colony on Alpha Centauri, Zora Mitchell presented her latest invention to Earth's leaders. The device was small enough to fit in her hand. This can shut down any Confederation ship's power systems, she explained. From a distance of up to 50,000 miles, the Earth officials watched as Zora demonstrated on a captured alien vessel. The ship's lights flickered and died. Its engines went silent. How many can we produce? Asked one official. Thousands per day, Zora replied. We've built automated factories on 3 different worlds. Earth now had 17 colonies on planets outside the solar system. All were hidden from Confederation sensors by advanced stealth technology. Each colony focused on different projects. Some built ships, others developed weapons, others grew food for Earth's expanding population. In Confederation space, strange economic problems were appearing. The Galactic Bank reported unusual currency movements. Trade routes that had been stable for centuries suddenly became unprofitable. Some companies went bankrupt for no clear reason. At a secret meeting, representatives of Earth's new allies gathered to plan the next phase. The Confederation is weakening, said the Meldari delegate, floating in his water tank. Their economy is unstable. Their ships keep having mysterious accidents. It's time to go public with our alliance, suggested the Tauran representative, a tall furry being with 4 eyes. Olivia Carter shook her head. Not yet. We need 2 more years to complete our preparations. The other delegates agreed. They had all suffered under Confederation rule and were happy to follow Earth's patient strategy. In the Confederation Council chamber, an emergency meeting was called. Economic advisors presented disturbing reports. 17 major trading companies have collapsed, said one advisor. Food shortages have been reported on 12 worlds, and we've lost contact with 31 patrol ships in the past month. The council members looked at each other with concern. Even Zix Toth seemed worried. Is this some kind of natural disaster? Asked one council member. Or an attack? Suggested another. Nelvac, the intelligence officer who had warned them for years, finally spoke up. I believe we are seeing a coordinated effort by an unknown force, a force that understands our systems very well. What force could do this? Demanded Zix Toth. No species has such capability. Nelvac's feathers stood up straight. 5 years ago, a species left this council after being repeatedly disrespected. We have not heard from them since. The room went silent as the council members considered this idea. Impossible, Zix Toth finally said. Humans are primitive. They need our technology to survive. But for the first time, The other council members didn't seem so sure. 7 years had passed since Earth walked away from the Galactic Confederation. The day of revelation had finally arrived. Admiral Diana Powell stood on the bridge of the EFS Resolute, Earth's largest warship. The massive vessel was over a mile long, with technology far beyond anything the Confederation possessed. Diana wore her formal uniform, her gray hair pulled back tightly. She had lived to see this day, and she intended to savor it. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said her second-in-command. Diana nodded. "Begin Operation Daybreak." Across the galaxy, at exactly the same moment, human ships appeared in orbit around 31 key Confederation worlds. Not just any worlds, the home planets of the Confederation's ruling council members. On Xilara, home of the insectoid Xilari, 50 human ships materialized above the capital city. Their sudden appearance sent the Xilari into panic. Emergency alarms sounded across the planet. Similar scenes played out on every major Confederation world. The ships simply appeared, with no warning. They made no aggressive moves. They simply hung in the sky, impossible to ignore. In the Confederation Council chamber, emergency meetings were called. Representatives from all worlds reported the same thing. Human ships had appeared from nowhere. "How did they get past our defenses?" demanded Zixtoth, the Xilari representative. His limbs trembled with rage and fear. "Their technology appears to be advanced," said a military advisor. "They can move without using normal space lanes. Our sensors didn't detect them until they wanted to be seen." On every Confederation world, all communication systems suddenly activated at once. Screens in homes, public spaces, and government buildings showed the same image. A human woman in a formal uniform. "I am Admiral Diana Powell of Earth's Deep Space Fleet," she said. Her words were translated perfectly into each world's native language. 7 years ago, Earth left the Galactic Confederation after being treated as inferiors despite meeting all membership requirements. Diana's face was calm, showing neither anger nor triumph. "In that time, we have built our own alliance with species who were also marginalized by the Confederation elite. We call it the Mutual Defense and Development Pact. Our combined territories now include over 100 star systems." In the council chamber, the representatives looked at each other in shock. 100 systems. That was nearly a third of the explored galaxy. Diana continued her broadcast. "We did not come to start a war. We came to offer you a choice. You can continue with your confederation, which treats some species as superior to others. Or you can join our alliance, where all members have equal status and rights." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Representatives of our alliance will contact each of your governments within 1 day. They will answer your questions and explain our terms. You have 1 month to decide." The broadcast ended. The human ships remained in orbit, silent and watchful. In the council chamber, chaos erupted. Some representatives demanded immediate military action against the humans. Others called for negotiations. Zixtoth pounded the table with his clawed limb. "We must attack now. These humans have violated our space." The Archon, the oldest council member, finally spoke. The energy being's voice was quiet but stopped all argument. "Attack with what?" the Archon asked. "Our ships cannot even detect theirs until they choose to be seen. And if they wish to attack us, they could have done so without warning." Nelvac, the intelligence officer who had warned them for years, stepped forward. "I have analyzed their message. This Admiral Powell said something important. They built their alliance with other species from our space, species we treated as inferior." "Who would join them?" demanded Zixtoth. At that moment, 7 representatives stood up from their seats in the chamber. The Meldari, the Taurans, and 5 other species that had always been considered minor members. "We have been part of their alliance for years," said the Meldari representative. "While you ignored us in your councils, they offered us respect and partnership." The council chamber went completely silent. The humans asked for equality. said the Tauran representative. You denied them. Now they offer you the same choice. Join as equals or stay behind. Outside, the human ships continued their silent watch, waiting for the galaxy to make its decision. The days after the human revelation were filled with fear and confusion across the galaxy. On many Confederation worlds, people demanded their leaders join the human alliance. On others, especially Xilari worlds, there were calls for war against the humans. The Confederation Council remained divided. Some members wanted to negotiate with Earth. Others refused to even consider it. Zix Toth, the Xilari representative, called a secret meeting with leaders from 5 other major species. They met on a small moon, away from human ships and prying eyes. We cannot allow these humans to dictate terms to us, Zix Toth said, his insect limbs clicking with anger. We must show them our strength. The others agreed. They formed a battle plan. While pretending to consider the human offer, they would gather their best ships for a surprise attack. General Peter Walsh sat in a dark room deep inside the EFS Resolute. Screens surrounding him showed information from across the galaxy. As head of Earth's special operations, he had spent years placing sensors and agents throughout Confederation space. They're planning an attack, Peter said to Admiral Powell, who stood nearby. The Xilari have gathered ships here, and here. He pointed to different spots on a star map. Diana nodded. As we expected. Are the countermeasures ready? Yes, Admiral. Everything is in place. For years, human agents had planted special devices on key Confederation ships and bases. These devices were hidden and dormant, waiting for activation. 3 days later, the Xilari fleet made its move. 200 warships jumped into position around the human vessels orbiting Xilara. They expected to catch the smaller human fleet by surprise, surrender or be destroyed. Zix Toth himself broadcast from the Xilari command ship. Admiral Powell received the message on her bridge. She looked calm as she nodded to Peter Walsh. Activate Protocol Shield, she ordered. Peter pressed a sequence on his control panel. Across the Xilari fleet, the hidden human devices activated. Ship after ship suddenly lost power. Weapons systems went offline. Shields failed. Communication systems went silent. The mighty Xilari fleet drifted helplessly in space, unable to attack or even call for help. Similar scenes played out in 5 other star systems where Confederation forces had planned surprise attacks. In each case, the attacking ships found themselves powerless, defeated without a single shot being fired. On the Xilari command ship, Zix Toth stared in horror as his vessel's systems shut down around him. Emergency lights cast a dim red glow over the bridge. What happened? He demanded. What did they do to our ships? A technician worked frantically at a console that still had some power. There are devices attached to our ship's main systems. They appear to have been there for years. Years? Zix Toth's voice rose in disbelief. On the main view screen, Admiral Powell's face appeared. The humans had somehow kept their communication systems working. The devices were placed on your ships 4.3 years ago, she said calmly. While you believed we were hiding on Earth, we were actually studying your technology and finding its weaknesses. Zix Toth's limbs trembled with rage. This is an act of war. No, Powell replied. This is an act of prevention. You fired no weapons. We fired no weapons. There is no war here today. Just a demonstration. The news of the failed attack spread quickly through the galaxy. The Confederation Council called an emergency session. The chamber was in chaos. They knew our plans before we made them, shouted one representative. They controlled our ships without even touching them, cried another. The Archon, oldest member of the council, floated in silence for a long time. Finally, the energy being spoke. We have gravely misunderstood these humans, the Archon said. 7 years ago, they asked to join us as equals. We treated them as children. Now they have shown us that we were the ones with much to learn. The council chamber went quiet. I will meet with the human representatives. The Archon continued. I suggest you all do the same. One by one, the council members agreed. Even Zixtoth, watching from his powerless ship, knew the Confederation as they had known it was finished. The humans had won without firing a single shot. 10 years after humans left the negotiating table, representatives from every known spacefaring species gathered at a new location. The massive space station called Unity hung in neutral space, built by human engineers with help from their alliance partners. Inside the main hall of Unity, delegates found something unusual: a circular table with no head position. All seats were the same size and shape, despite the different body types of the various species. Special chairs had been designed for each species' comfort. President Samantha Reed waited as the delegates took their places. She had once been a junior aide during the original negotiations with the Confederation. Now she led Earth's government. Her simple blue uniform had no fancy decorations, unlike the elaborate clothes worn by many alien representatives. Zixtoth entered the hall last. The auxiliary representative walked stiffly, his insect limbs moving with careful precision. He had fought against this meeting until the end, but the auxiliary government had finally forced him to attend. When all were seated, Samantha stood. The universal translators around the room ensured all species could understand her words. 10 years ago, Earth asked to join your community as an equal partner, she began. We were denied. Today, we invite all of you to join a new community, one built on mutual respect, not on age or power. She gestured around the table. Notice there is no head position here. No senior or junior members. All voices carry equal weight. The delegates looked at each other. This was very different from the old Confederation meetings, where the oldest species always sat at the head of the table. Many of you fear we plan to rule over you, as you once ruled over others, Samantha continued. That is not our goal. Humanity doesn't want subjects. We want partners. She touched a control on the table. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a strange spiral of stars. This is Andromeda, Samantha said, the nearest major galaxy to our own. For the past 5 years, we have detected signals coming from there. Intelligent signals. The room filled with surprised sounds. No species had ever detected life from another galaxy. We believe there are civilizations there, perhaps as diverse as our own, Samantha said. And we have developed technology that might, one day, allow us to reach them. She let this sink in. The idea of traveling to another galaxy had been considered impossible by all known science. But we cannot do this alone, Samantha said. We need all of your knowledge, your unique perspectives, your different ways of thinking. Together, we can reach further than any single species could alone. Commander John Hayes watched from the back of the room. Now retired from active service, he had been invited to witness this historic day. He felt a deep satisfaction seeing Samantha, once his young assistant, now leading this meeting with such confidence. After the main session ended, John found himself standing near a refreshment area next to Zixtoth. The auxiliaries seemed uncomfortable, but made no move to leave. Commander Hayes, Zixtoth said finally, I remember you from the old negotiations. John nodded. I remember you as well, Representative. Zixtoth's antennae twitched. There is a question I must ask. When you left our table years ago, you already had plans in motion. Your technology was advancing rapidly. You could have conquered us if you wished. The auxiliary's voice grew quieter. Why didn't you? After how we treated your people, why offer partnership instead of demanding our surrender? John looked out a window at the stars beyond. Because the point was never to win, Representative. The point was to be heard. He turned back to the auxiliary. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want our place in it. A fair place. The same as everyone else. Zixtoth was silent for a long moment. We made a mistake, he finally said. Not just about your technology, but about your nature. John smiled. Then perhaps we can start again. This time as equals. Above them, The great station Unity continued its silent orbit. Inside its halls, the future of the galaxy was taking shape, not through conquest or domination, but through partnership and respect. The humans had left the table, but they had built a better one. One where all could sit as equals under the light of a billion stars.